We were told last night by Senator John Fetterman from Pennsylvania. He was on with Stephen Colbert last night, which, got to be honest with you, we make fun of Colbert, but it is the highest streaming show in Guantanamo Bay. Now that you can't waterboard, it's a lot easier to get confessions out of people if you put on Colbert. Or heaven forbid if you threaten to, like, put on The View or something. No, God! For real. You're like, we're going to put on Colbert. They're like, I don't know, can you bring back the waterboarding instead? Something like that. Okay, it's tough. But Colbert is, just an activist masquerading as a comedian. And, I will tell you this. I make political points if you watch my stand-up act. But I'm very upfront about the fact that when you get on stage as a comedian, you're not there on behalf of the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. You're there on behalf of the keg party. It's about finding truth that we can all, find some humor in acknowledging. That's what comedy is. That's how you distill your ideas to a broad audience. It's not about, being hyper-focused on one ideology and then using your jokes to advance that ideology. That's why no one watches late night anymore. They feel like they're at a partisan lecture masquerading as a comedy show. And so for that reason, Colbert really single-handedly destroyed late night, because what happened is Colbert's brand of humor, it succeeded on Comedy Central because he was playing a character and he was following The Daily Show and he was mocking right-wing cable news. And people on the left who hated the right thought it was funny and it was good and it was one note and it succeeded to them, okay? But when they put him in the David Letterman slot, where he was replacing somebody who at his peak also had a bipartisan appeal. Letterman certainly not finding himself in that position now, but at his peak, he was bipartisan funny. And so for that reason, they were fired up for Colbert. Here he comes, Comedy Central hotshot. And then they threw him on the air, took a look at the ratings, and nope, Colbert did not work in late night. In fact, was on the verge of being canceled before Trump came down the escalator and reconfigured the late night game into one of political punditry. Okay, when Jimmy Fallon launched The Tonight Show, he was crushing the competition. He was averaging 10 million viewers out of the gate. Okay, now the guy who wins late night on a particular night is lucky to do it with about 2.2 million viewers. Okay, so you understand the late night game has changed dramatically. Okay, audience is obviously more fragmented. They've got more options now. Gutfeld showed up, our lovable little comedy dwarf, and he's pulling in a couple million viewers of his own. Okay, but you've got these other shows out there that have gotten away from what made late night successful, which was being a source of common culture, a place where people could go, okay, at the end of the day, unplug from serious news and hear, some superficial news, see some celebrities, and yes, maybe even tell some jokes about the people making the serious news. Okay, but because Colbert showed up as activist guy, it wasn't working. But when Trump came down the escalator and that manufactured hysteria ensued, where all the people on the left who had spent 10 years cashing his checks, having them on their TV shows, going to his wedding, hanging out at Mar-a-Lago, chasing around supermodels out there at Mar-a-Lago.
Hubba, hubba.
Okay, well, every one of those same people who hung out with Trump, some of whom employed him at NBC. Okay, Trump had a show on NBC for 15 years called Celebrity Apprentice. And then Trump threw his hat in the ring politically, and they were like, this is literally Hitler.
The media is a bunch of losers.
I'm like, if Trump was literally Hitler, then that would make NBC literally Goebbels. Now, I don't know that they are that, and I'm not saying that's the case, but there was a manufactured hysteria around Trump that made a guy who was very much an accepted member of polite society public enemy number one. He was always pugnacious. He was always crass. He'd always shoot down, if he didn't like a tough question, he'd shoot somebody down, and give you a hard time. Okay, that was Trump's way. Okay, but we didn't look at him as like an existential threat to humanity. We just looked at him as an outspoken guy who didn't have a filter. And it made him refreshing when he ran for president at the height of people taking speech too seriously. Okay, and the more the left freaked out over Trump, the more powerful he became. Because at our core, everyone out there would not want to live in a world where saying one wrong thing would get you fired. Okay, we didn't like living in a world where you had to have a 24-hour law firm on call in your head every second of the day because heaven forbid you wanted to express an opinion on Twitter and it might be the wrong one and you'd wind up in jail. Nobody liked living in that world. So the more Trump behaved like Rodney Dangerfield in Caddyshack when he was reading the elites their truth, the more people gravitated towards them because they looked out at the world of speech police, where they looked out at the world of fake morality and self-righteousness, and they said to themselves,
I'm sick and tired of all this bullshit.
Ergo, a lot of people flocked towards Trump. And it certainly helped his cause that establishment politicians were destroying the country, okay, and did a poor job of leading us to prosperity in the ensuing 4 decades, okay? So understand Trump had his appeal, but at the same time, if you lived in a world of left-wing manufactured hysteria, okay, suddenly a guy like Trump, who was going on The View all the time as a regular guest.
The View was awful.
But they said he was a scam. He's Hitler, the white supremacist. This guy's a racist. Wait, what? You hung out with him for the last 20 years. Okay? People like Howard Stern, the former king of all media, who has morphed into the Prince Harry of all media with all of his woke grievances, okay, suddenly said Trump was a racist and a white supremacist and we can't have him in the Oval Office. It was a manufactured hysteria. It was absurd on its face. But Colbert was able to successfully tap into that and take the lead back from Jimmy Fallon because they forced Jimmy Fallon to abandon what he did as a variety performer who sang song parodies, dressed up as characters and had egg tosses and played porno password with female guests, very superficial stuff. They conned Jimmy Fallon into becoming an activist that had to act like he was mad about politics.
That's stupid. Use your common sense.
Yeah, he fell for it. And the truth is, Jimmy Fallon is not mad about anything except for when it takes the bartender too long to make his drink. Okay? He is a prodigious drinker. Like, he could have hung out with Frank Sinatra. I ran into Jimmy Fallon the other night. He was walking out of Ocean Prime on 50th Street, around the block from Fox. And he was, like, so befuddled, like such a where am I look. And whoever the hell he was with grabbed him and was like, we're over here in the van. And he was getting driven out of there. I ran into him right on the street. It was pretty funny. He was like, oh, hey, man. But he's hammered. He was a mess. Okay, he wants to be doing a variety show. But if you remember, Jimmy Fallon had Trump on in the run-up to the 2016 election and mussed Trump's hair as he was interviewing them. Mussed his hair. And everybody was like, how dare you? You normalized this man. You mainstreamed this guy who was already on our channel for the last 15 years. That was the performance art of freaking out to Trump. All the people who employed him took his money, cashed his checks, hung out at his parties, had to about face immediately and declare that this was the worst human being who ever lived. And a lot of them were able to keep up the grift. Okay? It cost Jimmy Fallon his comedic integrity to do so because he didn't feel that way. I'm not saying he loved Trump. I'm saying he thought Trump was ridiculous. He was a New Yorker. He bragged a lot. He had a potty mouth. But he didn't think he was Hitler. He didn't think he was racist. He didn't think he wanted to kill people. But in the realm of late night, outside of Fox, Stephen Colbert now beats Jimmy Fallon every night and kills Jimmy Kimmel, who, to be clear, is capable of being funny, but they pulled Jimmy Kimmel into the woke direction.
Everything woke turns to
And he had to go in that direction because he's worn blackface so much on his show that they would cancel him in a second if he didn't align with their political views. You understand? It's not how you behave, it's how you vote. It's not how you identify, it's how you vote. So Colbert, now the reigning king of liberal late night, had John Fetterman on last night.
There's a slob. There's a real slob.
And here is Fetterman saying to great laughter, without a solitary hint of irony, he tells the Colbert audience that America is not sending its best people to Washington, D.C. Apparently, there's a mirror right there on the set of Colbert. Here it is, clip 35.
You all should need to know that America is not sending their best and brightest, to Washington, D.C. Yes. Like, sometimes you literally just can't believe, these people are making the decisions that are, determining the government here. It's actually scary.
What would you do with a brain if you had one?
Fair question. Listen, Fetterman sounds like he's doing better in that clip, and that makes me happy. I don't root against anybody, even if we don't agree politically. Okay, but you yourself, if you lived with your parents till you were 50, which, I don't begrudge anybody that. If you're helping out your parents, you're trying to get ahead financially. But Fetterman is a dirtbag. Okay, he's an actual dirtbag. Okay, we have a senator who looks like the lead person of interest in every missing prostitute case in the neighborhood.
What the hell did you just say?
I said the truth, okay? If you were looking around and there was a strangled hooker, okay, and you saw Fetterman off on the side of the road, he is the very first person that you are identifying to the police. The very first one.
When you're right, you're right. And you're right.
Okay, and now he's a senator, and that's great, and he's the slob who made them relax the dress code, and he was walking around in shorts. You know, they say dress for the job you want. He looked like the co-star in a porno called Debbie Does Meth. Okay, but that's who he was. And he is actually like proof that we're not sending our best and our brightest to D.C. And it doesn't mean I wish him any ill will physically. But we basically got him in there as a senator, partly because he's right about what we're sending to D.C. Okay, the people in that audience laughing, okay, are laughing without any self-awareness. They don't realize the guy sitting there uttering that truism is actually proof positive that it's true. Okay, Fetterman he shouldn't be anywhere near the Senate. Fetterman looks like he shouldn't be allowed within 500 feet of a school, okay, let alone the United States Senate. And he was the guy leading the reasoning for relaxing the dress code, for our politicians holding themselves to a lower standard. Hey, we're just the United States Senate. Don't expect us in pants and a shirt. What are you talking about here? We're just the Senate. We're just 1/3 of the government. What do you mean? What do you want from us? Okay. But when politicians are being asked to be held to a lower standard and you're one of the guys leading that charge, okay, the idea that you then get on TV and harangue what's going to Washington without a hint of irony does speak to a little bit of a lack of self-awareness.
Oh, you're right. And when you're right, you're right. And you're always right.
But I got to be honest with you. We're not sending our best. And if we are sending our best, that's horrifying, okay, because the things going on in this government right now are an embarrassment, okay? The border's open. Border's open right now. We've had thousands of people come into this country from other countries that want to do us harm, okay? Human trafficking, drug smuggling has become a $2 billion issue because the front door of our house is open, okay? That's not intelligent, okay? We're sending money to the biggest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, a country that wants to blow us off the map to go with Israel. That's not intelligent, okay? We are being plagued by it's like the golden age of stupid. Like I tell you this is a syndicated radio show. I'm sandwiched on Fox between Kilmeade and Guy Benson, okay? Both very intelligent people. All right, well, the pretty intelligent people. All right, listen, I stand by my comment. I think they're both very bright. But the point is, I myself, when I was offered this job, was like, I don't know. These are pretty sharp guys. I mean, where am I going to fit in this lineup day in and day out when they're giving you this high-level analysis? And then I took a look around at what was actually running the country, and I was like, oh, I'm A-okay. I think I might be intellectually overqualified to analyze this government.
That's true. That is true.
Okay, so in a roundabout way, Fetterman is completely right, okay, that we're not sending our best to Washington. There's a lot of idiots out there, okay? You take a look at somebody like AOC.
AOC is a dope.
But then you even just think about the human garbage of, like, you know, Rashida Tlaib, who spent forever not condemning the violence from Hamas, finally forced to release a statement yesterday because she realized how bad it looked to not give an answer to Hillary Vaughn. Okay, but you've got a lot of jackasses. There's some in the Republican Party. I mean, what is Matt Gaetz doing? He's just trying to shag chicks, put on eyeliner, be an Instagram influencer, and go out and get laid at the end of the session.
I love it when you talk dirty.
But that is what it is. Mark Wayne Mullins coming up in this hour. He'll tell you the story about how Gaetz bragged about taking Viagra, crushing Viagra, and drinking energy drinks so he can shag chicks all night.
Oh, yes. I've read about that in the Bible.
I mean, I don't begrudge him that. I mean, the all-night thing sounds kind of exhausting. I'm 45. I don't want to rock and roll all night and party every day. I want to rock and roll some of the night, sleep in part of the day. Sorry, Kiss, I can't join you on that tour. Okay, but the reality is we are sending idiots, and they're doing stupid things. And sadly, the closer to the top of the government you get, the more stupidity you find.
We really are being laughed at and scoffed at throughout the world. They're not respecting our country the way they used to.